Hi.
Hi, my name is Michael Bean, and this is a myfreeactingclass.com tutorial. You can find all of these, the Mondays and Tuesdays, and the Fridays as well, will be posted at, there's a link at confidenceoncamera.com. If you go to confidenceoncamera.com, you can find a link that says videos, and all of the last 2 months of videos are there, including multiple casting director videos. And so go and check out some of those, should you so desire. Today, we're going to be talking about story, and we're going to be going over a script from the show A Million Little Things. So this was so I'm going to pull up the script for you. We'll start by looking at that. I chose the script because I happen to have the breakdown for this one, and I want to be able to show you the breakdown. Also because I've done a lot of specifically kid scripts in the past few weeks, and I want to do a specifically adult script. Now, if we get through it in time, then there's also a second short script that I pulled from a movie called Battle in Seattle. I don't know about all of you, but I've been spending a lot of time engaging with the anti-racist material in the last couple of days, and it's very much on my mind. Yeah, and so for folks who are interested, and particularly folks who present as white like me, who care passionately about being anti-racist in the world, I also am going to share a link to a resource page that an activist friend of mine put together that includes a great thing about like how to talk to your kids about it if you've got little kids and that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that is on my mind today, even though I'm not choosing a scene that is specifically relevant. I was excited to find the Battle in Seattle, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll just do the protest scene from 2007 instead. Okay, let's take a look at this. So to start with, and this is from ABC's A Million Little Things. So this was shooting in Vancouver. I believe they did 2 seasons. Very high budget show, A Million Little Things. ABC, we've got a 16-second trailer that we can watch here, so that'll give us a sense of the style. I believe this character we're going to look at today was from the 2nd season, and so you would already have this to be able to watch. And I know that the resolution is not always great.
America's critics agree. The tear-jerking, smartly cast, emotional, top-notch new series is A Million Little Things, a new drama.
Okay, you could go on here. You could find the cast. You could find clips. We've very easy to find a trailer for the show on YouTube.
You're not gonna believe this. John killed.
And apparently, if you click the wrong button, then you end up, there we go, okay.
You're not gonna believe this. John killed himself.
People always assume John, Gary, Rome, and I went to college together. We got stuck on an elevator. In that decade, a couple of us got married. I love you. One of us beat cancer.
It's in line with what I was expecting. Suspense is killing me. Anything else killing me?
And one of us got sober.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, hey, bud. Part of me keeps thinking that at any moment, John is going to come barreling through those doors right there. Sorry, that was perfect.
I had no idea that he was depressed. You want to know why? Because we don't talk. I bet you two don't even know what color my eyes are.
How could I not know? How could I not see it?
So we could watch another 30 seconds of it, but you get a sense of the style of the show. It's polished. They're talking about real things, and they're doing it in the context of a number of friends who are dealing with their like sort of the guy who holds the group together starts the series by taking his own life. It happens in the first few minutes of the first episode, and then the entire series is sort of unpacking this one event. One of the things that I've talked about, some of my teens will recognize is sometimes I find it useful to talk about a spectrum of comedy to drama based on how the consequences for behavior. You'll see in pure comedy, like in the stuff that's made for little kids, zero consequences, right? I'm in a scene with Anna. Anna hits me in the head with a frying pan. Boom, I go down. I get back up. I'm like, Anna, come back here. Zero consequences for violence, zero emotional consequences. If I'm in pure drama, Anna hits me head with the frying pan, I die. And the entire show is about the emotional and physical consequences for Anna. At the end of season 2, she's still like, why did I hit him in the head with the frying pan? She's talking to her therapist, or she's on the run from, or she's killing other people with frying pans. But like, it's shattered her life, this killing me with the frying pan. That's pure drama, pure consequences. And so I would say that this probably falls, somewhere close to the end of that consequences spectrum. There's because we're talking about a show where the big dramatic event happens at the very beginning of the show, and the show is actually about unpacking the emotional consequences of that event. I think the BBC show Broadchurch, if any of my adults have seen it, is an excellent example of that. Traumatic event happens at the beginning of the show, and multiple seasons of like deep consequences for the people watching. Anyway, just something to think about if you're like, where am I on the spectrum of comedy to drama? Now, let's look at the actual script here. So let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. This was Clark and Page, Bank Manager. Guess who auditioned for this one? It was me. The A Million Little Things, episode 111. Episodic, television, SAG-AFTRA. This is the Screen Actors Guild, or the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. So it means it's also going to be UBCP. We've got the executive producer and the director, the writers, et cetera, et cetera. Bank manager, male, 40s to 50s, any ethnicity, a standard client consultation suddenly takes a turn, principal role, right? So principal, I've talked about this in some of the industry sessions before. It's a category used by the Union of BC Performers that essentially means how much they have to pay you. If it is 6 lines or less, they can categorize it as an actor role unless your agent negotiates you up. Which they can do if they've got clout for it, or you've got clout for it, or the show's got lots of money. It's basically about your agent negotiating things. Unfortunately, it's not something the actor themselves can do a lot about. So storyline. Friendship isn't a big thing. It's a million little things. A Million Little Things is an hour-long dramedy. Great, you've got the style right there. About a group of friends who, for different reasons and in different ways, are all stuck in their lives. But when one of them dies unexpectedly, it's just a wake-up call. The others need to finally start living. Interior bank, same. So yesterday we looked at a script that had the page number. This one does not have the page number. It's episode 111, but we have no idea where it shows up. Back on Kate and Molly. And we could go into the details of IMDb and find out who these characters are if you wanted to do that extra level of prep. For the moment, we're not going to do that. The bank manager enters. I'm sorry, but since you aren't the owner or officer of Winthrop Holdings, I can't release the documents you've requested. Kate and Molly exchange a look, stymied. Now, if you didn't know what this word stymied meant, it'd be really easy to look it up. I think there's never an excuse to show up for an audition. Having not done that like tiny little bit of work to go, what does stymied mean? Mm-hmm. To be an obstacle to, prevent the advancement or success of, thwart or stump, right? So we look it up, it's like, okay, cool. It's not rocket science, and probably most of you know what it means anyway, but I think that at least I often get students who show up and they're like, well, I kind of knew what that word meant. And I'm like, well, you didn't actually know what the word meant, and it affected your understanding of the story on a basic level. So Karen and Molly are like, uh-oh, we're not going to get what we need. Molly straightens her back, determined to start taking control. So Molly's going to start taking control. Unless you want to call upstairs and tell your boss you lost 3 weeks while the probate court dots some T's and crosses some I's, it's in everyone's best interest to get my client get up to speed ASAP. Isn't this great? This is a typo, right? This is a professional script. It's from ABC, big money. Get my client get up to speed. This is probably help my client get up to speed, but it doesn't matter. It's not your line anyway if you're going in as the bank manager. All right. The scripts are not perfect and they're being updated. I have had actors audition. God, I remember a student of mine named Michelle who went in for 11 pages for Korean and Heike. And her mom, I think, emailed me afterwards and said, I heard them laughing inside. They said they loved it. They hadn't seen it before. It had just been written yesterday. That does happen sometimes in professional auditions because the timeline between when it comes out and when it is being produced can be so short. We're going to see longer timelines now, let's hope. But listen, my husband used our assets to secure this loan without my approval. I'd ask him about it, but he's dead. A loaded beat. I'll make the call. So this beat is, and you'll sometimes see it written in scripts, but if it's not written in, then it's your job as the actor to find the beats. And a beat is a change in the emotional tone or a new thought, usually accompanied by a small pause, right? So the bank manager's like, I can't do it. They give him this information. If I was doing this, I might look up what probate court is, but I'm not sure it's, at least if we're doing the quick pass, I don't think it's necessary to know. What she's saying is, tell your boss that I'm going to take you to court, and my husband is dead. Right, so they're adding stakes. Oh, okay, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. If I'm the bank manager, I'll make the call. Kate expresses the smile as these two women find themselves on the same team. Bank manager hanging up phone. My assistant is making copies of the documents you've requested, so no need to call upstairs. In this case, call upstairs means call the boss. So the bank manager obviously cares about his boss, or her boss, not finding out. It's the same male. Okay. So he laughs weakly as Kate shoots Molly a winning look. Let me get you a cup of coffee while you're waiting. All right, and so the character goes from, it's got a great arc to this, for a very small part. You start from like, absolutely no, to, oh gosh, don't get me in trouble, to like, hey, let me do something to make your life easier. So one of the reasons that I wanted to look at this today. Let me see if I can pull up the whiteboard. I haven't used the whiteboard a lot, but this might be a good way to do the questions. This is where I'm going to need your help throwing some things into the chat window. So what we've got, a bit very loud. Yeah, exactly, Roger. Okay. Story, and we start with the style, which is, in this case, I would say, there we go. Style is hour-long dramedy, right, which is what we had in the breakdown. The writer's story, okay, what would we say, maybe like stuffy bank manager, like ladies get what they need from the stuffy bank manager. We can go back and now hopefully this stays here when I leave this whiteboard. Let's find out. We can go back and look at the breakdown for the character. Always useful to check back in with that. A standard client consultation suddenly takes a turn. Okay, so if I've added stuffy to that, so that's not actually the writer's story. That's maybe my opinion of this. So if we go back to, yeah, there we go. And apparently I can't erase things. Okay, well, learning about Zoom all the time. My story, right? So if you're playing the bank manager, yeah, and if you are too young to play bank manager, but you're still participating in this lesson, I would ask you to still take on the idea of, okay, what if I'm playing the bank manager? Yeah, isn't dramedy a fancy way to say drama? No, in this case, what we're looking at is a drama with some comedy. So it's obviously a combination of the word drama and comedy together, and it's definitely on the drama end. I mean, we watched a bit of the trailer, so the words give us some idea, but really, like, we watch it, so we're like, oh yeah, it's like that. I mean, that's why YouTube is so useful. And if we didn't have the trailer, then we would want to go and watch a part of whatever the director did last, right? I usually talk about these in these lessons. The producer's in charge of the money, so they make the final decisions, especially about who gets cast, producers in the studio. The director's in charge of the story. The casting director is in charge of the auditions. The talent agents are in charge of marketing the actors and managing the actors. And then the actors are in charge of the work and in charge of themselves, right? So you got to make sure that your work is quality enough that when you get that shot with the casting director, that what you give them is viable for the decision makers, the director and producers. You've got to make sure that your agent has all of the materials that they need to market you effectively, and that you're teaching them who you are and what you're right for, et cetera, et cetera. The style, the writer story, my story, okay, so stuffy, guy gets scared by fierce ladies, right? And there's lots of different versions of that you could get. Now then we want to go into characters. And I think especially you want to do it from the perspective of the bank manager. So if you're talking about the bank manager and you are playing that character, how would the bank manager describe themselves? Right, just a couple of adjectives. Throw them in the chat window. Right, all it says is that he is normal, reserved. Great, makes perfect sense. That fits my stereotype of bank manager. That's a great. Competent. Right? He's somebody who knows what he's doing. Competent. Smart. Professional. Excellent, right? So he cares about doing his job, monotone, boring. Now, the bank manager is not going to describe himself like that. So that might be your idea of the character, but if you wanted to play that, if you wanted to play the bank manager, so let's say you wanted the result monotone, boring, what you would want to play is extremely reserved, right? That my professionalism means that I don't give any indication of how I'm feeling. It's very important for me to be extremely polite and professional. But if I play monotone and boring, I'm likely to play at it, and I'm likely to come across as false. Now then, what is the bank manager's opinion of these ladies? Right. So if I'm the bank manager, and I want to have this opinion, where I'm getting scared by these fierce ladies. Okay, so I'm going to put fierce because, the powerful, right? Suspicious, right? And so at first it's like, okay, what are you doing here? Pushy, hotheads, and then there's also got to be something that can. So great. So maybe they're hotheads, but they just know the right things to say. And that gives me a strong, and it gives me a great reason so relationship, manager and clients. I probably not crazy, although that might be interesting to play with in exploration. Oh, intriguing. That might be really fun to play with, to give them like, what is your deal? And I would say, give yourself more than you need so you have room to explore. The one thing that I've been really using both with my students and in my own work lately is making notes of a couple of these so that when I get into playing with it, I'm like, cool. So I've got their suspicious version, and that's interesting to me. But what if I pick the opposite? What if I'm like, okay, they're really interesting. yeah, I can't give you what you want, but okay. Oh, well, you're threatening me now, so okay. Maybe it gives me a different version of the character with the same arc. I don't think so. I think if you playing him as a power role character, Bullock just put in this question: would you play him as a power role character? You might start that way, but since the arc of it is no, I'm the boss, you can't have what you want, to can I get you a cup of coffee? That you wouldn't want to go too far with power all the way through the scene because you've still got the writer's story to follow, which is that like you have to not just give them what they want, but like sort of fawn on them, take care of them almost. So the relationship and the strong feeling or opinion, and this is where maybe we put in either the suspicious or intriguing. Suspicious, and let's say that to begin with. Objective is the next thing. What does my character want? To get these ladies out the door. The ladies out the door would give me one thing. Now right. So it's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't give you what you want. Goodbye. So I'm choosing a want that I can't achieve. That I can't immediately get. Now, if I put that in, what do I need to make them do or feel? Do or feel. And this is what keeps objective from being academic and from being self-focused. One of the things that comes up for me in class a lot is that when somebody's attention is here and focused on themselves, their acting is very likely to come across as false. In real life, if you meet somebody and you see that they are trying really hard to be friendly with you and they're being really nice, you're like, whoa, suspicious. I don't believe them. What's going on? Right? Because their focus is on themselves and trying to make an impression of being friendly. Whereas if you meet somebody who's genuinely engaged in you and seems really interested in you and is asking good questions, then you're much more likely to experience them as friendly. And so as an actor, you often need to follow from, okay, here's the result that I want. Bullock's, power. I want the manager to be like a very, very powerful character. But then you have to follow that through to, okay, I can't play power. It's going to seem false. What do I need to put over there on the other side of the camera so that it comes across clearly as powerful? So what do I need to make them do or feel? And that's taken right from Larry Moss, where he's the first person who I heard share that. And so listen to me, exactly, listen to me. Or, and if they listen to me, what will they do or what will they feel, right? Maybe they'll leave, right? Or is it that they will respect me? And so again, you see how they're kind of academic? They're great choices, and just follow them to, if they respect you, what will they do or what will they feel, right? So they'll follow the rules, right? You can't have what you want because it's against the rules. I'm sorry, you have to follow the rules. Try to help me. Okay, help me out here. Right, you want to make them uncomfortable or comfortable or uncomfortable enough to leave because the goal is to get them out the door. Great. And so then that puts us into a tool that I use in class all the time, which is a short charged phrase that carries the objective. And then this one phrase, if you've done this right and you've put in your 15 minutes, can be enough to carry all of it for you. So then here I would just say maybe listen to me. And that would be my phrase. If I wanted to make them uncomfortable, I would say, you don't belong here, right? I want them to leave here. If I wanted to make them comfortable, and in order to get them leave, I could play it super patronizing and almost and super sexist, and be like, and give them something like, you shouldn't be worrying about that. And I would take a couple of these, and then I would try saying them out loud until I found one that activated me emotionally. And that, I've got this. Great, good choice. I've got this. Don't you two worry your heads. I've got this. You can leave now. Trust me. And there's no right here. There's just more effective and less effective. And this goes for whatever age you are, whatever kind of character you're looking at. suggestion is that you follow this, you find those short objective phrases, and then you just practice saying them and see which one you feel more. And as long as it's in line with the story version of the story you want to tell and the writer's story, like that's a necessary. You can't contradict the writer's story, even if you find something that you think is really cool. But as long as you're doing those two things, you can probably find 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 different versions of this. Each one is different, right? Because the you don't belong here, could not be more different than like, trust me, I've got this. I've got this. I'm still trying to dismiss you, but it's a completely different way. And some acting classes, they'll talk about tactics or the verbs going through and making, like with each line, writing in something like that. And I think that's a great academic exercise. And I've seen it be very effective with plays where somebody has 20 or 50 or 100 hours to practice. But with film and TV, my recommendation is that you find that one solid objective phrase and then look for 100 different ways to express it in connection to the other person. Keep bringing your attention back to what are you going to make them do, what are you going to make them feel, and then you go over the script from there. You're much more likely to find something alive. Okay, 3:59 and 50 seconds. So I didn't leave 5 extra minutes, but I'm really happy to stick around and take questions. So some folks have already had to go.
It's 4.
I know! How is it that you can unmute yourselves? Because I allowed you to.
Amen.
There we go. And so I will, yesterday the questions were so valuable that I think I'll keep recording so I can put them in the YouTube video, but anybody who needs to sign off, please sign off. I am so pleased to be teaching this lesson. Thank you so much for making time to join me today. And if you want to stick around for the Q&A, then please do. I'll be here for, say the next, 10 minutes or so to answer questions either about the script or if you have totally unrelated questions, I'm all yours. If you've got the question, probably 6 other people do too. I should probably unmute everybody so y'all can say bye to each other, and the people who want to stick around for questions can. Bye! I mean, I'm not leaving, but bye! People have to leave! Okay. Now, we'll continue to allow you to unmute yourselves.
Bye.
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 It was especially Kirsten when she was telling me about the classes that she was running for very young kids. She's like, the first 10 minutes, I really just let them shout things at each other. Like, I think that what's really important right now is that like people be allowed to connect with each other. And so I'm like, great, yeah, let's do that. Let's build that in. Let's give people a chance to just be like, I'm here. You're here too. Oh my God, we're not alone in liking this. All right. I'm getting some weird feedback from somebody or some background noise, so I'm going to mute you, but you can still unmute yourselves. Does anybody have a question? You can, like I said, use that little icon, throw up the blue hand. What if it's a script for a pilot? I don't know if Amanda's still here, but she threw that question in at the very end, so I'll start by answering that one. And so, Amanda, if it's a pilot, then what you would do is you would go onto the IMDb and you would look up whatever information you had, usually the director or the creator of the show, and then you would look at the last thing that they produced. So especially the people who are the director, because they're in charge of the story, and the show creator is often the person who's like shaping the style, and it's not perfect, but you would that would give you a sense of the style. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So if we were going to do that with this one, and we could actually have done that like kind of next level, even with this, even though it's an existing show, by looking up the director of this specific episode. Yeah, and then maybe that would give you an even clearer sense of what is the person who's in charge of the story for this one, like what version of the style do they want?
Hello? Okay.
Oh, I muted you too fast. Good. Okay, I'm glad that worked for you.
Bye.
on the day should it ever happen, how should an actor handle an adjustment from a producer versus the director? That does happen on set, and a showrunner will sometimes come in and say, like, the director doesn't know what they're talking about, do this instead. Definitely the time to tread carefully. If you are, okay. I think this is one of those like complicated answer to a very simple question. If it's the kind of thing where if it happened to me, I would be like, oh, damn, oh man, what do I do? So there is no like, oh, of course, you just always do this. Technically, the producer and the showrunner have more decision-making ability and more decision-making power on the show than the director. And so if the producer's telling you one thing and the director's telling you something else, if you're on the show for multiple episodes, maybe that might be the producers trying to help you out. And my friend Kira was working on a show, sci-fi series in Montreal, where she was one of the leads, and she had a director who was like, really wanted her character, who was this like badass like woman who was just like kicking ass and taking names and like running things, to just sort of like kind of bow out, when she got got into conflict with one of the other main characters, and so she went to and so the director was like, no, just do it. And she was like, but my character wouldn't do that. And so she went to the showrunner, and said, look, my character wouldn't do that. And here's, Kira's insane in her awesome level of extra preparation. So she's like, here's my show binder where I have every scene of my character from each episode. First, the episodes in order, and then each of them chronologically. And so here's the thing that they said in episode 4 about her, and episode 5 about her, and episode 6 about her. And that's why she would never do this thing that I'm being told to do, and the director isn't listening to me. And then the showrunner went to the director and said, hey, she's right, you're wrong. However you feel about that, you're just going to have to suck it up. So that kind of thing does happen. Now, directors and producers can be in conflict. And they could. It is possible that if that happens to you, you are an unwitting pawn in a conflict that you don't want to be part of. And so in that situation, I think that if the producer was like, "Look, no matter what the director tells you, do this," I would personally, talk to the director about that and just have both people tell me. Now, if I really didn't want to be roped into conflict and I would be really careful, I wouldn't say, "Hey, the producer told me this. What do you want me to do?" I would just say, what are we thinking? Or I would check in with the director about that. And honestly, if you're a day player, you're not going to have that option anyway, right? If you're showing up as the bank manager, probably what the director wants is to stay utterly focused on Kate and Megan and have you do exactly what you did in the audition room. And if they get exactly what they want, it's that they never have to speak to you except to say like, hey, thanks for coming to set, or like, great working with you, bye. They say 9 words to you because their focus is on the arc of the main characters. They're not thinking heavily about bank manager. They thought about that when they looked at the audition tape and they're like, yeah, good. That's the version I want. Cut, print, go. They're going to spend a bunch of time talking to Kate and Megan about how they're reacting to the bank manager. And as an actor, especially if you're really excited to be on set for your 1 or 2 days playing bank manager, that's going to suck. Like it's going to hurt your feelings a little bit. And you're going to be like, but I'm an actor and I care and I put all this time to bring bank manager and I'm not respected here. And you just got to remember that like they have been working extremely long days for a very long time and have other things that are priority, and so in that situation, the thing to do is be super professional. Now I think it is totally appropriate, to be the person who goes up at the end of the day after they've wrapped you, even if they haven't talked to you at all, and says, it was great working with you, or thanks very much. And then if they're a jerk, okay, then they're a jerk, but right then, a lot of the time that kind of situation is not about you. They just have another focus. Series can have different directors each episode. See them shouting at each other. Yes, totally. Okay. Long answers to simple questions. It's totally my jam. Other questions before we wrap up and get out of here?
Can you just explain one more time the difference between just a regular beat and a loaded beat?
Honestly, I think the difference is literary. Probably we could ask the writer and they would have a very strong opinion about like what they meant in that moment in the script. right, and you're right. What we've got is a loaded beat. And I would say like a beat is a new thought or a change in the emotional tone of the script. And so all they're really saying is, there's feeling here. And it's sort of like when you're reading a script and the writer uses literary words. They're like, a storm passes over her eyes, or her face hardens, the kind of thing that you would see in a novel. You could ask the writer what they meant by that, but I think if we read it for emotional information, then I'm like, okay, cool. I know what I need to do my job. And I had a great series of coaching sessions a number of years ago with a woman who was a story editor, like in charge of a team of writers on a show. And she said, oh yeah, I do 2 versions of the script. I do one for the producers where I write in all of those things, a beat, she shrugs, she cries, he laughs. Because if I don't do that, the producers, the money people, they actually have no idea how the characters feel. And they're confused and they come to me and they're like, I don't get it. How does she feel? She's like, but then I do a second version of the script where I take all of those things out because I don't want to tell the actors where to feel what they're feeling. That's their job. They're the experts. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, that's such a relief to hear, right? Because it's one thing, to very loaded, be nice. It's one thing to hear it from an acting teacher, that like you can ignore those little, in brackets directions if you need to, but to investigate that on the writing side, or to hear for me on the writing side, that was the case helped a lot. One of these days where we can't get a director or casting director for our Fridays, maybe we'll get in somebody who's a writer, so that again, you can hear it from somebody who's like actually doing these things. There we go. So Yvette has this great little thing that she put in the chat window. When I met J.J. Abrams, I got cast directly from tape and didn't meet him till the shoot. On the day he said hello, and then do it like you did for the audition. And after, great job. Yeah. Right. And that's not disrespectful at all. It's just their focus. He's focused on the arc of the main character and telling the story. Okay. That's 4:10. I'm totally happy to take more questions, but again, if you need to go, then please feel free to sign off. Bye, Deborah. So one more question before we're out. Great script breakdown. Woo! Okay. Thanks so much, team. Unmute yourselves, and let's all shout at each other, to remember that we are not alone in COVID times.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, my
I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. I've been waiting to say that.
Oh, Linda is on today.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, team.
I love
Bye.
Mr. Bean.